Finally, Treyarch announced today that in addition to basically removing skill-based matchmaking from Black Ops 7, making skill minimally considered in the matchmaking, that they will finally be nerfing rotational aim assist in the game. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what changed to cause them to want to nerf aim assist suddenly. Hint, we pretty much owe it all to Battlefield 6. And why even have rotational aim assist be this overpowered in the first place. We will be exploring both those questions in this video, so let's get right into it. Now, first off, in the clips you are seeing in this video, I'm using controller in the Black Ops 7 beta. I'm using basically default settings besides sensitivity, which I adjusted a little bit, and I'm not using like a SCUF controller, I'm not using a Cronus Zen. I have a DualSense PS5 controller, and my aim pretty much felt better than my mouse and keyboard aim of 7 years, especially in close range fights. Obviously, medium to long range, aim assist drops off significantly, and I would rather be on my mouse and keyboard at those ranges, but I was surprised. I thought aim assist, I knew aim assist was broken, but I did not think it was that broken. Like, there were some fights I wasn't even aiming with my aiming joystick. I was just moving and letting the aim assist do the work. So I just wanted to say that, like, in these clips, it's not like I'm a seasoned controller player. I'm somebody who's basically taking the advice and just switching then. And the results were, yeah, it's not skill. I don't know why they say just switch then, as if you're going to switch and discover that controller requires skill. It doesn't right now. Now, in other games it does, but not in Call of Duty. Okay, so why even have overpowered rotational aim assist in the first place, right? Well, rotational aim assist has been in video games for years, quite frankly, but it really started getting overcooked back when Fortnite introduced crossplay. Like, gaming companies had to figure out how to give controller players a fighting chance against mouse and keyboard players, and thus overcooked rotational aim assist was born. Warzone burst onto the scene in the late 2019-2020 and was complete with crossplay, and again, the developers had the same decision. How do we make sure that mouse and keyboard doesn't dominate a game that's been traditionally controller dominated? It's been traditionally a controller based game. Call of Duty has. Especially with the introduction of slide canceling, movement tech, and camera braking. Like, how do you compensate for the fact that a mouse and keyboard player can flick their mouse left to right instantly, while a controller player has to cross their joystick across the axis to go left to right and is often constrained by sensitivity? Well, you compensate for that with rotational aim assist. Rotational aim assist, which reacts to movement on the screen and starts the process of moving your joystick before you actually can react and initiate the movement. It makes it so you have to move your thumb less as the game shifts your aim to the movement of the target, right? So it is kind of logical, the reason they introduced this overcooked rotational aim assist. The problem is it got to the point where it basically removed the all element of skill in aiming, specifically in close range gunfights. It got to the point where it was a crutch, right? It went too far. And at the time, back in 2019 and 2020, it wasn't so noticeable because there were still significant skill gaps in Call of Duty, such as positioning, movement, game sense, and people not having the right settings or not knowing which settings to equip for audio, for the controller, for aim assist. Not only that, there was like overpowered shotguns in the game, like the R9, which favored mouse and keyboard players. So it wasn't really a huge issue back then. But during COVID, the skill gap tightened significantly, and all people were doing was playing video games. Everyone was using the same settings. They were watching the JGOD videos. They were watching the professional players' guides to get the optimal controller settings. Everyone knew the movement combinations because they're not that hard to slide cancel. It's not that hard to do all this movement tech that pros think is really hard, or some people think is really hard. It's not that hard to do that movement tech. It's just a combination of buttons you memorize. It's why Fortnite players all play the game like cracked out on G Fuel, because they memorized the combination of buttons, right? And so it really only left two skilled elements of Call of Duty, besides positioning, which would be skilled aim. Positioning and skilled aim. Now, skilled aim wasn't really an element of skill because of the rotational aim assist. Now, yes, skill-based matchmaking did contribute in large part to the feeling of no skill gaps in Warzone in Call of Duty, but the one constant skill gap you are supposed to have in an FPS video game, any FPS video game, should be aim. If everybody is as good as each other at movement, if everybody has the same game sense, if everyone has the same positioning, aim should still be a constant skill gap in the game. And rotational aim assist removed or greatly lessened the skill gap of aim in the game. So yes, there was a logical reason, balance-wise initially, for wanting rotational aim assist mechanics, but it wasn't adapted to the player base, which was adapting, right? And the biggest thing to me about rotational aim assist being so overpowered is it actually was a sales tactic. From a sales perspective, it made perfect sense to keep aim assist as broken. Players who are traditionally bad at video games could play Call of Duty, get eliminations, feel good about themselves, which made it so that they would want to keep playing the game. Especially since Fortnite had nerfed their aim assist into the ground shortly after the World Cup, basically made it so Call of Duty and Apex Legends were the only two games that had overpowered rotational aim assist. And if you are a bad player at video games and you leave Call of Duty, you aren't going to have a good time on any other game that doesn't have overpowered rotational aim assist. And thus, Call of Duty players basically became stuck between Apex Legends and Call of Duty. Therefore, COD recognized, hey, we have a loyal player base, so why should we mess with it? Why should we nerf a significant portion of our players and risk losing them and their money? Makes no sense. So we'll just keep aim assist as broken. We'll say we tweak it slightly for Black Ops 6, but they didn't really tweak it that much. Still broken. And so why change it at all? Well, obviously Battlefield 6. Battlefield 6 happened. The beta for Battlefield 6 happened, and mouse and keyboard players, well, they wanted an FPS that felt fair and balanced. And mouse and keyboard players that wanted to play an FPS that wasn't like a slow Valorant or CSGO style game, they were stuck playing Call of Duty until Battlefield 6's beta came out. But Call of Duty had no competitors whatsoever. There wasn't any incentive for them to nerf aim assist because they had no competitors. It's the same reason they didn't nerf skill-based matchmaking. Have no competitors, why mess with it? They knew the players, they're not going anywhere. Battlefield 6 happened then. And they're like, oh crap, we may lose a huge portion of our player base. Battlefield 6's beta, huge success to the point where Warzone pros on mouse and keyboard like Huskers announced today, actually on Twitter, before Treyarch announced the aim assist nerf, ironically, that they were leaving Call of Duty and switching to Battlefield 6 full-time and the Battlefield 6 Battle Royale. Battlefield 6 has a traditional skilled aim assist, which is just a slowdown when ADS in your target, no rotation, very little rotation. It also has reduced recoil profiles for controller because recoil control is a huge element of the skill in Battlefield 6, so it makes sense. The weapons actually do have recoil in that game, so I could understand controller players getting a reduced recoil profile. Therefore, mouse and keyboard players, they saw a game that actually valued them as players, and they loved that beta. And they didn't just love the beta, honestly, controller players love that beta too. And thus, the panic in the developers of Call of Duty. If we lose mouse and keyboard content creators like Huskers, surely their mouse and keyboard viewers will follow suit, and we will lose them too. So how do we prevent that? Make the game more fair. Nerf aim assist, which they announced today. I also think it's worth noting, though, that more people own a PC and play mouse and keyboard nowadays than they did back in the days. I mean, let's face it, when Call of Duty first released, when it first came out as a game, well, not when it first came out, but like when it burst onto the scene, I should say, when Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2 burst onto the scene, the vast majority of gamers were still pretty much console only, unless you were like playing CSGO for FPS. You pretty much, if you were an FPS gamer, you were pretty much console only with Call of Duty and Halo at the time. So obviously they should only consider controller players' input when balancing their game. But nowadays, plenty of gamers play on PC and mouse and keyboard. So I think it's fair to consider the needs and wants of mouse and keyboard players more than you did back then, especially since during COVID, more people bought computers, more people practiced their aim on mouse and keyboard, more people got good. I think it's fair to consider the needs and wants of mouse and keyboard more than you did back then. I'm not saying you should consider it more than controller, but it should be a part of your balancing decisions. And I think this is what companies are coming to grips to.